thought I would share some of the things that I wish I knew before buying. First and foremost, educate yourself. There are so many resources out there about home buying education that honestly I wish I had taken advantage of. No lie, when I put in my offer and it was accepted, I was on Google like, what is escrow? Don't be like me. Second, be patient. There is so much paperwork that goes into this process and it is all time sensitive. It will make you want to pull your hair out. So this really blew my mind once I actually started talking to people that have purchased homes. Everyone is not putting a 20% down payment on their home. In some bigger markets like New York and Los Angeles, it's very common for folks to put down 20% and some just to compete with other buyers. I chose not to put down 20% because I wanted to use some of that money for renovations. There are some cons to not putting 20% down. And speaking of renovation, you do not need to renovate every single thing all at once. Take your time. Really differentiate between what's a want and what's a need. And speaking of money, I used to think that people were just saving up mountains of cash from their paychecks each month, which in a perfect world is the best scenario, but that's not entirely true. You can get creative with how you finance. Some people pull money from their investment portfolios, 401ks, stocks. And speaking of investing, whether you are saving for a house, a car, whatever, put your money in a high yield savings account. It grows more and faster than a traditional savings account. Next, homeowners insurance and a home warranty are not the same thing. Think of homeowners insurance for the outside of the home, the structural parts, siding, foundation, roof, things that may be impacted by weather. Warranties, however, can cover repairs for things inside the home, like your appliances. And finally, get a squad of people you trust and who have your best interest at heart. This is such an emotional process, so protect your energy and your peace by surrounding yourself with loving, smart people who can keep you motivated. And that's it.
Hey guys, Robert here. Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to take a few moments to talk to those of you that are still renting and may feel like buying a home is impossible. It's out of reach. That's simply not true. I wanted a different twist with this video and have some very articulate ladies point out some of the things that they wish that they would have known when going into their first home transaction. It's going to help those of you that are first-time home buyers and move-up buyers, especially if you haven't done this in quite some time. But before we do that, if you don't mind, take a few seconds, hit that like, that subscribe, and notification bell so that you know when we bring information like this onto the channel. It really helps the channel out, and I thank you in advance.
What is one thing you wish you knew before purchasing a home? I'll go first. I wish I had known to hire an HVAC specialist separate from the home inspection. Reason being is because we were closing in the springtime and the temperatures weren't really that hot outside, and the HVAC system passed inspection. However, once summer came and it started heating up, the HVAC system was underperforming, and in the end, we ended up having to replace the entire thing, and it ended up costing us upwards of like $10,000, and that was not fun. That's one of the top things that I recommend on top of the home inspection, just to make sure that you are covered, because I don't want that to happen to you.
Here are 3 things that I wish I would have known prior to purchasing. The first thing I wish I knew is that my monthly mortgage payment could go up. I didn't really understand what that meant. When I originally signed my closing documents, my mortgage was $1,501. After my first year, due to property tax increases and home insurance going up, my mortgage went up to around $1,560. Number 2, I did not quite understand that when I make my monthly mortgage payment each month, that I was also paying for my insurance and my property taxes, but it was going into an escrow account and the lender would pay those on my behalf when they were due. So the first year I got a bill in the mail for my property taxes that was $3,000 plus, and I freaked out because I did not know what it was. I knew I didn't have $3,000 to give, but I had already been paying it over the course of that first year. And lastly, the process moved very quickly for me. I didn't go into it thinking I wanted to buy a house. I really just wanted to learn more. But when I got pre-approved, the interest rates were so low. I qualified for a 100% financing option, and I was able to get new construction that I only had to come out of pocket like $900. So like, why not move forward with buying my home? So your monthly payment can go up, your insurance and your property taxes are likely held in escrow by lender, and that the process can move quickly depending on the market.
Okay, this is 5 things I wish I knew as a first-time homeowner. I'm not an expert. This is just 5 things that I wish I knew before buying my first house. So number one, cleaning. You're gonna want like the big, huge house, but you're gonna have to clean that big, huge house. So it's just like a new responsibility that I'm not complaining, but it was a shock. So under the couch, behind the toaster, under the bed. You gotta do the laundry. You gotta clean the dishes. You gotta clean the floors. Just a bunch of stuff you gotta do every day to keep it clean. Not complaining, just a new responsibility. Number two, HOA. HOA matters. The first property we were looking at had a very strict HOA. This one is more chill, but your neighbors do matter. They're going to be in your business more than the HOA, so try to find good community, chill HOA. Three, things are going to break. So after you just spent a lot of money for your house, you're also going to need to have an emergency fund for the things that might break. Like the third day we were here, our disposal broke. It started working randomly, like 2 hours after it broke, but that would have been money out of our pocket. So try to have an emergency fund because things are going to break. Four, mortgage. You're going to see the payment. You're going to be like, cool, that's my monthly payment. Well, you're also going to have a bunch of fees added on and fees you've never heard of. You're going to have, to pay for the HOA, the property tax, the insurance, all these different things. So just be aware that your mortgage, it's not it. You're going to have other things. And then last but not least, on number 5, turn on your do not disturb. I don't know what happens, but your phone number is going to go somewhere and all these telemarketers are going to call you. You're going to get so much mail in your mailbox that's like spam. I've just never seen anything like it. So that's really it. Put your phone on do not disturb and try not to fall for the spam.
There you have it. I told you, very articulate ladies. Let me give them all a round of applause. Number 1, educate yourself. Education is key, and every generation has had some benefit or some challenge. The Z and the A's, the alphas, those coming behind us, right? The advantage that you guys have is there's a lot of information out. The hard part is ferreting out what's real and what's not. You can go to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, FannieMae.com, FreddieMac.com, and they both have a free, for sure Freddie Mac has a free Homebuyers class. And so that class isn't going to get deep in the weeds, but from a cursory level for you to understand some of the terms, the terminology, and the things that is expected. I agree with it 1,000%. That's a great place to start when you're saying, hey, I'm going to get off the sideline and start working on getting on the property ladder, pardon me. With that, you have to have patience. Another thing that I've seen over my career, we've gone from paper and faxes and printing out, loan packages, you don't know, but loan files this thick, and doing snail mail and a lot of those things, to paperless and electronic. So if you're dealing with any loan officer or lender worth their salt, and you've educated yourself and done what you're supposed to do as far as being approved for a home loan, the process in our office, I can only speak to us, it's anywhere between 10 days to be the quickest time this year that's happened. 30 days is the norm. So you can borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars and get into a home within 30 days. The question is, should you do that? I don't know, especially if you haven't educated yourself. So patience is a virtue, and it's also applicable here. Most people still think that you need 20% as a down payment on top of the closing costs, and that's simply not true. There are several home loan programs. I mentioned Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. If you're a first-time home buyer, you could put as little down as 3%. The FHA, the old standard, and you don't have to be a first-time home buyer for FHA home loans, just to FYI. You can't have more than 2 in certain instances, but that's a different topic. But that requires a 3.5% down payment. And if you're buying in some rural or urban settings that meet the USDA criteria, that's a 0 down program. You still have closing costs, but you get my point. So you don't need 20% down. Patience and take your time. You don't have to have a HGTV home initially. The first job is to get the home in the proper location. Real estate is still all about location. So hopefully your team that you're dealing with is expressing to you in a way that you can digest the importance of buying the home in the right location. The best home that you could get in the right location always wins. Okay. Make your money work for you. Not only before the home transaction, but during and after. What does that mean? The high yield savings accounts, treasury notes or bonds that you can buy on a short-term basis and get a heck of a return for monies that you're looking to deploy within 1 to 3 years for a specific purpose. There's a ton of ways to grow your money, and then there's a ton of ways to get additional monies or monies that you can have access to from your 401k, things of that nature to help you get into a home. But you always want to consult with whoever your advisor is, tax professional as well. But they're out there. Home insurance and warranties. I like what she said about that. The home insurance, as she stated, really protects the asset, which is the home, for any losses, catastrophic losses, floods, fires, things of that nature, to help spread out those costs if you have to file a claim. And then warranties. When you buy a home, especially if it's a new home, make sure you keep up with those things. Create a spreadsheet, put down the name, the model numbers, and the warranties. And now you can hop on YouTube. A lot of things have videos on how to maintain them. And then your team. Who do you know, like, and trust? The next young lady had a bad experience with the HVAC because of the time of the year that the inspection was done. Here's the deal when it comes to inspections and just owning a home in general. New homes are not perfect, and homes require maintenance, period. Okay. And so when you get these inspections from these inspectors, if you read the report, they're just generalists. They're looking at the code and pointing things out. So if you have extra systems, if you have pools, septic, if you're running your own sanitation system on your property, typically, homes that have a half an acre or more, you want to know all of these things and have somebody come check those things specifically, because once you sign on the dotted line, it's yours. So you want to make sure you've done all your due diligence, and that goes back to the first lady and how she mentioned, having the proper team is very important. Your payment will change. That was a theme a couple of months ago, folks lamenting about my house payment went up X percent or it doubled. And I think we've covered that, but we'll say it again quickly, especially with new home construction. Most times the tax appraisal district, either in the county, parish, or township, wherever you are in these United States, they've not assessed that land with an improved property on it. So once a certificate of occupancy is issued by the township, county, or parish, soon thereafter, they're going to come out and assess. And this is where those differences are coming up. And the reason they're coming up is a lot of the lenders that you're going to are getting you in the house with what you want to hear, and not what's actual and factual. So for those of you out there that are blessed to watch this video, you're doing this beforehand. Go to the county, township, or parish and find out what the millage rates are to get the total percentage of the taxes that are going to be associated with where you're living. And what I say is this: simple math. You take the purchase price, take 20% off, and then multiply the 80% times 3%. If your taxes are less than that, you're good, but that's going to give you a very good picture of what the taxes will be when it's assessed, less whatever your homestead exemption is. I'm from the mindset that you want worst case scenario, and then if the numbers fall short, you're good, but you always want to prepare worst case scenario. And if you can handle that, then you're not going to get these shocks that a lot of people are complaining about, because they're getting in and have everything maxed out. Let's move forward. Escrow account. That's another good one, especially with a lot of the younger buyers that we have. When you have an escrow account, what you have to realize is when the county, township, or parish assesses the property, they're going to send you a notification in the mail. Read the letter, guys. Read the letter. If you have questions about it, reach back out to your lender, the one that helped you get into the loan, and they should be able to walk you through. But more times than not, it's just a notification saying, hey, this is what we're assessing the property at. And then the county or your servicer, the lender is not always the servicer, the place in which you make your payment. They're going to be reaching out to the county to get that assessment to make sure that your escrow account is in line. The last young lady, I like what she said. Big house, big cleaning, big windows, right? Windows, you got to clean them or pay somebody to clean them. That's a nice business. Another thing, the homeowner association, you all, especially if you're buying in a established neighborhood, you need to get those HOA minutes and notes. If you're in condos, not just the insurance and things of that nature to make sure the condo is insurable, but have your agent reach out to the other agent so you can get the balance sheet. Is the HOA in trouble? Are some things going on? You might not want to move there. That's big. And in my opinion is this, depending on where you're going, if you get into an HOA, if you have kids, you could ride around in the neighborhood. If you have older folks, why do you move there knowing that your kids are you're just causing yourself problems, okay? And so those are very good points about living in the property. Having an emergency fund, gotta have it. You can't get into these homes by the skin of your chinny chin chin. It's just a recipe for a disaster. It's gonna happen. 14 cents per square foot. So 14 cents times the square footage of your home. If you can't put that line item in your budget, you need to hold up, swole up, pump your brakes, because things are going to happen. Things are going to happen, okay? The PITI, the principal, interest, tax, and insurance. Most of you all are doing fixed rate mortgages, either 15 or 30 years or somewhere in between on that continuum. But the taxes and the insurance, right, and the HOA dues are separate. And those things are going to change. They can go down technically, but most of the time they're going to go up. If you don't want to deal with that, know that up front so you're not upset about the process on the back end. All right. It goes back to the very first lady. Educate yourself on how the principal, interest, tax, and insurance works. And that's something that your lender should be doing for you to make sure. I had a young lady close not too long ago, and she thought she was getting on my nerves. But I mean, she literally had 1,000 questions. And I kept telling her, no, it's good. Ask now, because once you sign on the dotted line, it's yours. And it's no more do-over and things that we're adults. So if you're dealing with somebody that's not comfortable answering your questions or educating you, you need to change that member of the team, in my opinion. And then the last thing that she said is very true. And my folks that deal with me, we do this up front, but it's a website called Opt Out Prescreen, OPTOUTPRESCREEN.com. You want to go in and opt out, because as soon as you become a homeowner, everybody and their mama, I don't know where to get these lists from, but you'll start getting a lot of letters and things of that nature. And that's why you have to read, because most of these things that you're getting, it's junk mail or advertisers, and they'll try to mask themselves as the lender that you just dealt with, and they're trying to get you to buy all of these things. You need to not freak out. You need to have some time where you can sit down and go to the bottom of the letter or to the back, and they have to disclose or divulge to you if they are advertisers, and most of them are. But if you do that opt-out pre-screen, you won't regret it. You're not going to miss out on anything. One other thing that's real big when you're buying a house, I don't know who's been doing this or what company it is, but they've been making money for years. But you'll get a letter in the mail where they're trying to tell you that you have to pay to file your homestead exemption if you're in a place where a homestead exemption is applicable. Don't do it. Reach out to your lender if they haven't educated you already, or go to your county, township, or parish. That's a free form you fill out, and make sure you file your homestead. Every year when I go through my annual reviews, I still have people that haven't filed their homestead, and it's a savings for you as far as money is concerned if you're in the home as your primary. So there you have it. Here's the deal, guys. Home ownership is great if you're ready and you want to do it and you're educated about the process. And so if you need help with that and you'd like to reach out to us, my contact information is pinned in the top comment or the description below, because you guys know on this channel, our goal is to simplify the home loan process. Until the next time, y'all be blessed, be good to one another, let grace abound, and watch the next video. Indeed.